This Sunday evening, tens of millions of people will watch the New England Patriots and the New York Giants face off in the Super Bowl. And as it happens, the scripture appointed for today is Isaiah 40, 21 through 31, which ends with these words: "Even youth will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Coincidence? God's sense of humor? I don't know, but I do know that this passage from Isaiah is a biblical text that almost every Christian athlete from high school to the NFL often refers to. And you've heard of this fellow named Tim Tebow. The black patches that he wears on his cheeks, he sometimes writes scripture verses on them, and Isaiah 40:31 is sometimes there. The subject of faith and sports is a particularly hot topic these days. And it's largely fueled by Tebow's outspoken evangelical Christian faith. He makes no apologies. He acknowledges that faith openly and strongly. And it's been amazing to watch some of his come-from-behind victories with the Denver Broncos this season. I've watched and been astounded at the good fortune of that team. Now, sports writers have written, people have tweeted, blogs have conversed back and forth, and they write about his kneeling down on one knee. Some are appreciative, some are not. They make fun. Tebow's practice of publicly professing his faith in Jesus really has made him a lightning rod for debate. Makes us New Englanders uneasy, you know. We don't often fall down on our knees in the middle of a crowd, or in the shopping mall, or in the places where we work. We don't often profess, "I believe in God who is my source of strength." We don't often pray with our colleagues for God's protection, for God's healing. Not a bad practice, though. All of which leads me to ask the question, is it appropriate for an athlete to claim Isaiah 40:31 or any scripture passage as a personal promise of divine strength? More generally, does God care about football? Or who wins? In some vein, Tim Tebow has made it clear in many interviews, and I'm intrigued by this, that football is not his first priority. And some of you have undoubtedly learned by now that he has a custom of hosting an injured or a sick child or young person and family at every football game that he plays. He pays for their air ticket, their lodging, their game tickets. He sees them before the game. He sees them after the game. After that improbable victory over the Bears in overtime, Tebow visited with Zach Taylor, a 9-year-old boy who lives with constant pain. Following the Broncos' stunning overtime victory over the Steelers, and I love the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're from Pennsylvania, Tebow visited with 16-year-old Bailey Knobb, a girl who has endured more surgeries than she is years old. And when the shoe was on the other foot after the pummeling of the Broncos by the Patriots, 45-10, in the next round of the playoffs, Tebow still visited with a young man named Zach McLeod, saying, "I got to make a kid's day, and anything you do, that it's more important than winning a game, so I'm proud of that." Win or lose, I have learned as I've watched this guy and tried to figure him out that for Tim Tebow, the game is not the ultimate goal. The game doesn't matter as much, 100%, but what really matters to him is his care and concern for those he brings to the game. Those who are experiencing the most difficult challenges of life, health crises, and for whom everything in life has kind of not worked out. It's turned against them. Which says that he really does understand the meaning of Isaiah 40:31. Because it was written to the Israelites when they were in exile in Babylon. Downtrodden, defeated, no sense of a place other than the slavery in which they found themselves, on the margins. They were people who had lost their way because of the events that had unfolded in their lives. God cared, and they knew that God cared, but they had lost their way. When we, out of the goodness of our hearts, are aware of people who have lost their way, who are the downtrodden, who have been beat up by chronic illness, by bad luck, by misfortune. When we are able to see that, then we embody this passage. Back to that Isaiah set of words for a moment. The original recipients of the promises in Isaiah 40 have a lot more in common with the sick and injured kids in the Broncos stands